when you teach writing, where do you start at the beginning of the year? What's the first lesson you should do? I put a lot of thought into this, and we're going to talk about it today. Hi, I'm Robin Mellum. I'm a children's book author and a middle school teacher. I teach writing in sixth grade. I teach everything, reading and writing, and find a way to make it all fit in there, which is, it's not easy, I know. I want to talk today about the first week of school, and happy summer, by the way. I hope you all are relaxing. I want to talk about like the first week, basically, and what I do to get my year set up and started. There's three things that I focus on. Number one, at the beginning of the year, before school ever starts, I call every family. So I meet with each parent, well, usually on the phone. And in my list of stuff that I ask them, one of them is always, how does your student feel about writing? Do they like it? Do they hate it? Do they feel like they can write well? It's a really good piece of information to get to kind of see where your students are in terms of their view of themselves, because it turns out that's a really big part of how well they can launch into their writing. And you'll kind of be able to gauge like how much support, sort of almost like emotionally, are they going to need in order to get their writing up and off the ground. So I always ask that question. Second, I get a baseline of their writing at the beginning of the year, and I give a certain prompt, which is actually the same one that was in my last video about how I wrap up the end of the year. So I'm going to tell you how you introduce it at the beginning of the year. So there's the baseline. And then the third thing is we start with our first writing lesson, but I always give it before I ever start the writer's workshop. I kind of tell them that they have to like graduate from this lesson before they're allowed to start in the workshop. So it kind of gets them a little bit on edge of like, ooh, I need to figure this out. Plus, it's their favorite lesson of the year, and we repeat it often because they love doing this. So let me go to my screen and I'll show you what I do.
I did want to share with you how I start the very first day creating connections between them. And I do this activity called icebreaker for introverts. It gets to the kids who are like nervous and they're really hate icebreakers, which is actually me. I hate them. So I did this spin on a this or that activity where you give them this blank face of a human, and based on which side they pick, they add to their drawing. So they get weird. So I'll just kind of pop down here. It's funny. They get pirate hats, beanies. Like there's one of them has a parrot, one of them has a squirrel on their shoulder, and the drawings are supposed to be like crude and crazy. They get weirder and weirder, and then they just get up and walk around and share their drawing in front of them instead of having to speak out in front of the group or anything. And it's just a really great, like low stakes way to get your kids talking on that first day. So that's how I start out. Now, I then ask them to do this writing sample for me. And this is like my baseline. And I don't give them much information. I just tell them something like this, right? 1 to 2 paragraphs. Think of a time you were surprised. We might kind of brainstorm, like maybe there's a birthday, maybe your uncle came home, maybe you thought you were going to get this for your birthday, but you got that instead, or that you thought you were going to hate the water slide at the water park, but you ended up loving it. Whatever is the time you were surprised, give me as much detail as you can. That's all I say. And you're going to get 10 points for completing it. Do your best. Don't say anything else and get that sample and then keep it. So I always put these in Class Kick usually so I can add to it later. And then we will repeat this at the end of the year now that they've learned all those 6 skills, and they get to compare the beginning to the end, and it is phenomenal. It's the most fun you'll have all year. So make sure you get this done, preferably like right up front, where you honestly get the ickiest sample you possibly can, because the ickier the better, but that's where they are when they come in. So then from there, I do hop in. Let me go over here, and I start to tell them about how my writing program might be a little different from what they've done in the past. And this is a type of writer's workshop that I do. And I go through the student facing directions for my workshop, and I start to get them intrigued on what's going to happen. I'm going to go into more detail on this in my next video, because I'm going to do launching the workshop video for you next. So we'll go into depth with that. I show them like the choices that they'll have, the 6 skills they're going to learn this year. We talk about diamond mining, and then it's like the record scratch. But wait, you're not ready. We're not going to do this yet because there's something else you have to do first. You're going to complete a lesson on voice and how to inject voice in your own writing. You need this skill before you can get into the workshop. So they kind of have to graduate into it. I mean, they don't really, but you just tell them that. So it looks like this. I have this in my store, and it walks them through voice. What is voice? How to be precise when you write. It kind of gives them a little lesson here, right? And then I talk to them about the 2 ways you can be taught voice, actually. I didn't really realize that before, but I really feel like you can. And you do this by taking your character's point of view and you inject precise details, but only the details that that character would notice and comment on. And then emotional reactions. I think we get too much into, we did this, we did that, we did this, we did that. It was a great day. Bye. That was all. We need to like sprinkle in, how did you feel about how hot it was? How did you feel about how fast it went? And add those into your writing. So then we do this activity where they stop and they start looking around the room and noticing things. And the point of this is to see how your first idea for writing is typically not the best because it's usually like what everybody else thinks of. So if you tell them to look at the room and pick out something, they might pick out something very plain and ordinary. Teacher, like chalkboard, whiteboard, whatever. That's pretty plain and ordinary. And you want to get past that. So I walk them through that process, and they literally go around the room on a silent walk, and they have to just go observe in the corners, around everywhere they can possibly look without talking, and make a list of all the items that they see. And this leads them through trying to find something incredibly obscure. So we start, and I will even do this. I'll talk out loud with them about how, oh, I noticed that there's this pen upside down underneath a book or whatever. I'm making it up right now. And we talk about the obscure things in the room. And then they have to circle their very final one that they think no one would even notice ever if they came into the room. That's the one that they're going to write a diary entry for. That will give their character an attitude depending on what's going on with this object. Are they on the floor? Are they dangling somewhere? Are they in the windowsill and they're super happy because they get a view of everything? How your character feels about their life will inform their decisions about the precise details they give and their emotional reactions, right? So that's where voice comes from. You don't have the same voice in every piece of writing. I give them an example of a book that was upside down, stuffed in between Harry Potter and the Princess Academy, and talk about where there are some emotional reactions and precise details that only that particular book might notice. And then they go and they write and they do a diary entry, and their goal is to keep the object a secret. Don't tell us what it is. They just are writing a diary entry. And then usually this takes like another class session, but I have them share it out loud. And then while they're reading, the other kids are looking around like, what is it? What is it? Oh, is it this? Is it that? And they have so much fun with it. And then I extended this activity into the next day, and it was an accidental thing that I did, but it turned out to be so good. It was a blessing. And it's a video that I want you to go back and watch. It's a little meta, but I'm going to go, here's my own video. So if you go into my YouTube channel, go to videos, go down to this one. Sorry if this is making you dizzy. No, it's not that one. It was this one right here. My best lesson yet with me being goofy. My son laughed at me in that one, but it says narrative writing, an accidental lesson on voice. And it talks in there about how I extended it. And it turned out to be great. And it was because I had a substitute teacher, and that explains all of that. So then that is what we do on voice. If you did want to do more baseline writing for your students, I do have these. Sometimes I throw these in there if we're kind of in between and I want them to just do some writing, but I do get into warm-ups, which will be in my next video to get them into that uh, muscle memory of writing. But I do a lot of change my mind prompts. And this will kind of see, can they do some of that argument writing? Like this one says the school year should always start on Thursday. I like to use that one because my school, we always start on Thursday. And what do they think of it? This is why it's good. This is why it's not good. Just start getting their opinions out there. So that is how I start my first week of school. And I want to share with you two of my latest projects. I'm so excited to share these with you. First up, you'll see my year-long bundle of ELA 3-a-day warm-ups are completely done. I incorporate these into my writing program by having them complete 3 standards-based tasks every day. So they do sentence combining, which research shows that this really is the way to teach grammar concepts rather than in isolation. And then they work on test prep skills for language and a quick write. It's really high interest, usually really funny, and it keeps them from, ever saying that I have writer's block. Because the more they practice that writing off the top of their head, the more confident they're going to be to tackle those bigger projects like essays. And with the sentence combining, I do make it like it gets progressively more complex for them throughout the year. So I'll start with really simple sentences that they combine, and then I move into fragments, and then I just start giving them topics and they come up with their own compound and complex sentences. And the second thing I want to share with you is the complete structured writing workshop course that has been finished. The first module of this is free, so you can check it out and see what you think. It gives you a big overview and shows you all the student-facing directions that I give to my students myself. And then included in that, you'll have some notes where you can put down your ideas. And then I give you the full outline. And I just wanted to show you what's in the course. It's 10 modules, and it goes into much more depth than just the ebook and the regular videos on YouTube. I show pictures of it in action, more examples. I go way deeper into how I do each of these. And so, for example, let me go up here to module 8. I divided it into 2 because that's where the 6 super skills come in. And I go really, really deep on these, on how I teach these writing lessons here. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.